There's a silence in the Grand Canyon that isn't about sound. It's about what stops existing the moment you stop looking at it. You've seen 1,000 pictures of those red walls. You know the depth. A mile down. 2 billion years of stone stacked like a library nobody reads anymore. But you've never seen what's actually there. Not because it's hidden from you. Because it was hidden from the maps. And the people who found it first made sure it stayed that way. Imagine standing at the rim. The canyon is 277 miles long. It's 18 miles across at its widest point. A mile deep. That's 5,280 feet of vertical stone below where you're standing. Enough to swallow the tallest skyscraper whole and still have darkness above it. The Colorado River carved this. Water did this. For 6 million years, the river kept cutting deeper. And in that cutting, it exposed something. Layers of stone that shouldn't hold what they hold. Platforms cut into the walls. Chambers. Geometric precision where nature should have left only chaos. The first serious surveys of the canyon happened in the 1880s. John Wesley Powell led expeditions down the river. After him came the United States Geological Survey teams. Methodical. Documented. They mapped every visible feature, every geological stratification, every quirk of the exposed stone. But between 1895 and 1902, something strange happened in those official records. Certain features stopped appearing. Certain locations were marked as inaccessible when they weren't. Certain drawings, detailed architectural drawings of structures found in cave systems along the canyon walls, were filed away. Not destroyed, just filed away. In places where the public wasn't supposed to look. There are carvings, not petroglyphs. Those are old. These are different. These are precise. Geometric grids cut into alcove walls at depths that would require intentional descent. Not accidental. Not weathering patterns. Deliberate. The kind of carving that means someone stood there with intention and tool and purpose. Cut lines that haven't been explained by any geological process. Cut lines that suggest a civilization that knew how to engineer solutions in stone. The structures themselves. Let me be specific about this, because specificity is where you realize you're not being told a story, you're being reminded of something. In the Havasupai region, deep within the canyon where the light barely reaches certain alcoves, there are platform systems, leveled areas of carved stone, walls that are straight, not naturally stratified, but deliberately constructed. The precision suggests something more than shelter, something architectural, something planned. The weathering patterns suggest they've been there for longer than the earliest ancestral Puebloan settlements we acknowledge. Centuries longer. Possibly over 1,000 years longer. Which means either we're wrong about how long those civilizations existed, or we're wrong about something else entirely. The plateau system near the North Rim presents a different problem. There's evidence of water management. Channels cut into stone that would have required understanding gradient, understanding flow, understanding engineering principles that we associate with much later civilizations. Aqueduct-like structures. Not crude, not experimental, functional, optimized. The kind of work that suggests this wasn't the first attempt. This was the refined version, which means there were attempts before, which means knowledge was being passed down, which means occupation, long-term, sophisticated occupation. When the USGS decided to make those surveys inaccessible, the official reason was safety and resource protection. The real reason, if you read between the documentation, was simpler. The structures didn't fit the established timeline. They didn't fit the story we'd already told ourselves about who was here and when, about how civilization developed, about what was possible. Because if those structures were built by a civilization predating the ones we acknowledge, then everything about continental settlement changes. Immigration patterns change. Trade routes change. The narrative of progress shifts. And institutions don't like narratives that shift. There's a cartographic anomaly that almost nobody notices. The early hand-drawn maps of the canyon, the ones made during those first USGS surveys, they are inconsistent. Features marked on some maps disappear on later versions. Not because they'd been eroded away, because they weren't supposed to be there, because they suggested something. In one surveyor's personal journal, found decades later in a university archive, there's a single line: "The depth of the canyon is not the depth of time. Something older than the stone knows." He never published that. He never explained it. But he wrote it. which means he saw it, which means he knew. The absence itself is the argument. Maps of the canyon, official maps, show certain regions as unsurveyed or inaccessible that are neither. They are deliberately blank. In cartography, blank space means we don't know, but we do know. We've always known. The blankness is intentional. The canyon's official geography is an absence map. It's defined by what's been removed from it, not what's in it. The more precisely we chart the modern canyon, the more obvious it becomes. Something has been edited out, not from the canyon itself, from our understanding of it. Why does this matter now? Because we're approaching a threshold moment. Remote sensing technology, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, satellite imagery with resolution that was impossible a decade ago. It's becoming harder to keep certain things hidden. The canyon can't be edited out of satellite photographs the way it can be edited out of historical documents. The technology is catching up to the erasure, and the people who inherited the silence from their predecessors, the institutions, the academic frameworks, the foundational narratives, they are running out of time to explain why certain features weren't in the official maps. Because the technology will find them anyway. The question isn't whether we'll discover what's there. The question is whether we'll acknowledge it when we do. Stand at the rim tomorrow. Look down at the mile-deep shadow. That depth isn't empty. That shadow isn't because of geology alone. It's because of what we decided to stop seeing. And somewhere in the layers of stone, a mile below the surface, in chambers and on platforms and carved into alcoves that haven't seen daylight in centuries, there's a civilization looking back up at us. Not ghost-like. Completely real. Completely documented. Completely erased. Until the moment the technology we've built forces us to see it again. The canyon has been holding this knowledge the whole time. The question was never whether it was there. The question was always whether we were ready to look.